Welcome guys! Today we're going to cover some information and research that has left me wondering, are we on the precipice of a new civilization? Because if you're feeling the shift, you're not alone. Currently we are standing on the runway of what the late legendary astrologer Andre Barbault described as the most beautiful configuration of the 21st century. This is not like a gentle landing, this is more like a high velocity launch. Barbault's planetary cyclic index identified the period between 1989 and 2000 as the birth of the internet and the dawn of the digital age. This is serving the strategic moment for now. Strategic moment for now? You get what I mean. Looking to the stars, the outer planets Uranus, Neptune and Pluto align in perfected aspects in July 2026. So that's coming up like in the next few days. Think very carefully about the speed of this transition. We have already heard from Anthropic regarding Fable 5 and Mythos 5. AI models so powerful they were allegedly jailbroken by a Chinese group and forced offline by the US government within 72 hours. Personally, I think this seems to be the takeoff Barbault noted resting on pretty much three core pillars. One, the war turning points, a historical stopping of the tide of arrogance and the collapse of long-standing geopolitical hegemonies. Two, AI recursive self-improvement. This is where like silicon-based intelligence begins building itself and subsiding the need of humans for just basically having any of us involved. It's just going to be self-replicating. And three, the impending disclosure. This would be the final unsealing of the UAP records that shatters our traditional understanding of reality, science, and our place in the cosmos. When comprehending celestial patterns, astrology serves as a strategic tool for identifying the tide of arrogance that precedes the collapse of empires. Much like an initiatory process laid out for, dramatic form, specific alignments in Leo have historically acted as a cosmic stopping to expansionist projects. And we can see this is because, for example, in 1813, the Battle of Leipzig occurred under a solar eclipse in Leo, making Napoleon's first major defeat. In 1943, the fall of Mussolini and the Battle of Kirks also occurred during a Leo eclipse, during reversing the axis. Apologies, let me say that again. In 1943, the fall of Mussolini and the Battle of Kirks also occurred during a Leo eclipse, reversing the axis tide. And now we're here in 2026 as Jupiter sits in Kazami, in the heart of the sun. And this is when it creates a peak of arrogance. So the question is here, is the Western project approaching its own Leipzig? And we know what that's all about in regards to what's going on in Gaza, the Middle East, all around the world essentially just now. Because as we can see, these shadow actors, they must be monitoring these tides also. And I wonder if they're preparing to harness this critical zone for their own ends. Something I've noticed over the years is that the biggest ideas usually hinge on one specific strange detail. In the realm of deep state theology, we encounter the catacomb, or the restraining force that prevents the arrival of the Antichrist by maintaining the status quo of Western civilization, used by government and church power to maintain and hold back a totalitarian one-world state. Shadow actors like Peter Thiel view this as the ultimate justification for their activities. I don't know if it's Thiel or Thiel, but I don't know if it's just me, how I'm reading it, or my accent. Say his name. Recently, a massive data leak orchestrated by a Swiss hacker was brought to public light by Wired magazine and the New York Post, which published reports from their secret meetings, I think this was in Dublin, or somewhere in Ireland, known as the Dialogue Group, involving Peter Thiel, or Thiel, J.D. Vance, Eric Schmidt, Elon Musk, Jared Kushner, and Ted Cruz. Such a perfect little group happening here. The reports exposed conversational sessions such as Build a Cult, How's Your Sex Life, and Navigating World War III, alongside religious revival sparked by technological disruption. I mean, come on. Everyone's talking about it. So anyway, while Thiel and others utilize Antichrist and religious rhetoric in the public sphere, he and others in the Dialogue Group expand their profiles through ventures such as we all know, Palantir. Surveillance capabilities have totally been vamped up. So really, we are suggesting that, are they positioning, or maybe I'm not suggesting, but I'm questioning whether are they also from all this like leaked documentation, their, you know, inside chats, are they also positioning themselves to survive a civilization crisis that their own group is navigating and implementing them? But this is where things get more interesting, because alongside the dialogue group comes another shadow mafia. Enter the Colins elite, a network of evangelical Christian and Catholic power brokers occupying high-level offices within the US government and utilize the same demonic hypotheses to halt public UFO information by framing the phenomenon as a spiritual threat. This is documented by Jacques Vallée, a highly respected chronicler in the world of ufology. He also noted that private meetings in Bel Air between researchers Gary Nolan and Lou Elizondo, also with venture capitalist Peter Thiel, he's got every finger in every pie at this rate, discuss a new phase of research. So this network and common belief system between the dialogue group and the Colins elite is actually interesting, because could it be that their findings are that maybe religions are related to being, or are the artifact itself of a phenomenon that they perceive as demonic, and that the arrival of whatever it is they're kind of prepping themselves for actually falls under the Barbolt alignment? I mean, could controlling the religious narrative allow them to fit disclosure into their own doctrinal global goals, really, by actively blocking UFO disclosure and presenting it as a demonic deception? I mean, this is where you question, why is it they seem to have this fixation of what is going to trigger the end times? It's kind of like, you know, fanatical religious belief systems getting to always perpetrate these kind of notions that it's like, oh, something's different, it's evil. But anyway, the smoking gun for manipulation, of all this manipulation that's really come around, is actually coming from testimony of Miss X, who's a whistleblower whose badge number at Area 51 has been verified by Vallée, who vouched for and confirmed her identity and credentials. Through Miss X, Vallée brought to light the existence of Project Zodiac. Look it up if you've never heard about it. An alleged reverse engineering program at TRW as early as the 1970s. So according to his journals, this project identified two distinct aspects of the UFO phenomenon. So one obviously is a nuts and bolts craft, spacecraft. And second involves an ancient control system manipulating religious ideologies. That's a really, you know, we all kind of, I think, are kind of into all this stuff, are kind of recognizing about, like, you know, the Christ DNA, and, you know, everyone's kind of on that same trajectory, we'll say. But let's go back to this. If they were reverse engineering this in the 1970s, why are the Colin elites presenting disclosure as demonic? Unless, don't get me wrong here, it was to control or continue controlling the population's perception of reality. Because what else would be the purpose? I mean, it has to be based around, you know, they can always present it as like, oh, it will uproar people, stop doing X, Y, and Z, people will stop going to work, and I really doubt that. But I think people just find new means. I mean, there's a great film, if anyone wants to have a wee look up, and that was actually First Contact. I can't remember if it was 1930. It's a black and white film anyway, and there's some moments of colour in it, but basically it's between like the Australians and the Papua New Guinea people. I swear, if you watch this film, if you just put the Australian people as the extraterrestrials and all of us around the world today as being the Papua New Guinea folk, we can see a more grounded viewpoint of how all this is taking place. So anyway, as we approach our takeoff in the next month, the July 2026 window coincides with, guess what? The FIFA World Cup, which I can't remember who it was. I think it was Elizondo who perfected this term. But it would make up a perfect cargo cult environment for a high technological simulation. So let's think about this. Is it possible that this possible scripted apocalypse mirrors possibly the CIA's 1960s Operation Mongoose? which reportedly planned to project a hologram from a submarine off the coast to simulate the second coming of Christ, to spark a revolution among the people to topple the Cuban government. I mean, they've had it since back then, this technology. I mean, how far ahead we've come since then is incredible. So, I mean, I have no qualms that they couldn't do any of this stuff. Today, with advanced AI, drone swarms, psychotronic technology, and God knows how many shadow actors, it would be, and most likely possible, to simulate a threat from the stars to force a unified global response. And I'm sure we all have seen that video where he's, who was it? Was it not Clinton? Nixon? And he was like, all we need is a one world. I can't remember which president it was one of them anyway. But let's look at this. For example, in Miami, a city already plagued with reports of glitch entities. I'm sure it's weird, no one's really, as far as I've not kept up with it, there's been obviously that whole situation with, you know, people in the mall, and I mean, that was strange, you know, and the coordinates on, you know, Google Earth for that mall, if you do it backwards, it's actually for Antarctica, and I don't need to explain about the whole Antarctica thing, we're all doing our research about that. So basically, like I say, these glitch entities, then wouldn't the 2026 FIFA World Cup serve as an ideal theatre for a top-down institutionalised reality reform? It seems as though this 2026 to 2027 window is that we are likely to witness, most likely, a bifurcated reality. So like two things happening at once. A genuine cosmic a cosmic leap occurring alongside a heavily scripted false flag operation. We must distinguish between the demonic labels and the actual data regarding biologics, you know, and sentient plasmoid life, or, you know, all these different factors and elements. You know what I mean? It's no just as clean cut. I think we all like to look at it from just one angle to the other, but I think most of us are like looking at it from, you know, trying to see more of a rounded, you know, not a rounded picture, but like see it full circle, or come full circle with it. So ultimately the choice is between a Promethean evolution, the bottom-up ascension of man, and the institutional control of human perception through shadow actors such as the CIA, the Vatican, Dialogue Group, and the Colins elite. Look up all these people if you haven't come across any of their works, or anything about these people. Like, have a nose. Like, some of the best people I've come across that have like looked into this kind of research. I'll put something at the bottom for all these guys, but they're all just brilliant people. So what if Andre Barbault was right? And what if the 2026-2027 window marks actually a genuine civilizational shift driven by converging astrological cycles, self-improving AI, and UAP disclosure? What if the wars, the collapse in empires, you know, the corporatocracies all over the globe, and global instability we see today are part of the same pattern that has accompanied previous historical turning points? It's a question. And what if powerful groups have been managing this knowledge all along, shaping public perception through the same institutions that have always maintained the same status quo? Then, I mean, I don't know, like, there's so many people already, it's like we don't need to worry about having added additions of different groups. I think we all are kind of like, we got to kind of, you know, open our horizons a little bit, you know what I mean? There and the moon and back and all that jazz. But anyway, so could the 2026 FIFA World Cup become the stage for a managed disclosure event or something far bigger? Are we witnessing humanity's transformation? Well, yes. And are we going to see a new constructed version of reality? Well, yes. You know, we're going to have all this playing out at the same time. But really, no matter what happens, we're not alone. And we're all doing this together. So keep your eyes on the ball. I know we all have probably seen that clip, and now we're on the ball with literally on the ball with a 2020. Is it 2020? No. I forgot what I was going to say there. The Simpsons. Keep an eye on The Simpsons. Mexico versus Portugal. Let's see. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be having more coming soon, so please like and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.